Not surprisingly, almost everyone has an opinion regarding the next ban list. While this could be a little late, I suppose I should give mine. However, instead of the standard format of simply attempting to predict the next ban list or giving my hopes or wishes, how about we play a game of let's make a deal and take it or leave it? For let's make a deal, I'll propose one of two possibilities or deals for addressing 5 different archetypes, and the comment section can report which deal they would prefer. Understand that none of these deals should be viewed as ideal or perfect. They were designed that way, because what's the point of the game if one deal is obviously superior to the other, and there is no meaningful consideration between the two? For the take it or leave it section, I will propose a change, and people can simply decide whether they like that change, or they would want status quo to remain. With that, let's get started. Subject 1, Burning Abyss. With over 2 years at Tier 1, numerous individuals are certainly justified when they call for a more thorough number of hits against this deck. However, in my opinion, it is not in the interest of the game to completely kill a deck, regardless of the level of its past or current success, by blanket banning a various number of cards unless absolutely necessary. I don't think we've gotten at that point with Burning Abyss yet. So, for Deal 1, we have more than likely the easiest possible solution. Ban Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. As the cornerstone of a vast amount of the combination potential for Burning Abyss, due to its milling ability and graveyard recycling effect, the elimination of Dante from the game would force new strategies for Burning Abyss players, including more resource conservation, as the popular Dante Sur loop would no longer be available. However, with the loss of Dante, Burning Abyss would petition for something to come back, and in this deal they get another copy of Graph and another copy of Sur. So Deal 1 would ban Dante, but move Graph from limited to semi-limited, and Sur from semi-limited to limit 3. I'm sure some would probably favor this deal right away because of a dissatisfaction with Dante being splashed into other decks solely for its milling ability. In Deal 2, Dante remains at 3 copies, but both Sur and Graph are banned. In this scenario, the most important Burning Abyss monster remains untouched, including giving Burning Abyss access to Beatrice. But the deck loses its 2 most important combination pieces, which significantly limits its floating potential, forcing Burning Abyss players to be more careful and strategic about their playmaking. However, because there must be some counterplay as well, in this deal, Burning Abyss decks would get a indirect bit of support back, with Tour Guide from the Underworld coming back from 1 to 2 copies. So, which deal do you think works best at reducing the power of Burning Abyss, but still allows them to be somewhat competitive? Subject 2, Monarchs. With a 2016 NAWCQ championship under its belt, along with numerous YCS top 16, top 32s, and the ability, when playing without an extra deck, to heavily shut down a number of rogue decks with a searchable extra deck-based Vanity's Emptiness, it is certainly no surprise that many players want to see some hits to Monarchs. So what types of deals can we make? Deal 1. Ban the Prime Monarch. If this was the only change, some may think this deal is a raw one. Eliminating the Prime Monarch removes a very important element to their consistency, the best deck-to-graveyard Monarch spell trap when activating certain Monarch monster effects, forcing Monarch players to use other resources that may be helpful somewhere down the line to achieve these effects, and strips Monarch players of their best form of defense and OTK stopper. For more details on why I think this is an appropriate deal, see the first link in the description, my first insightful or foolish discussion. While I think banning Prime is enough to manage Monarchs, a number of people might disagree, and if the point of this game is to give one pause when making his or her decision, it stands to reason that Deal 1 must offer more. So to sweeten the pot a bit, Deal 1 would also limit Eidos the Underworld Squire to 1. This would obviously limit the number of turns that Monarch players could take advantage of that second normal summons. Deal 2. Limit Stormforth, Domain, and Aether to 1. In this deal, the general objective is to allow Monarch players to keep the Prime Monarch at up to 3 copies, to ensure that they have important consistency for making their plays, as well as an effective defense to produce more grind games. But heavily limit their ability to interrupt plays that their opponents are trying to make, to acquiring cheap and some would argue is unfair advantage. Limiting domain reduces the ability of monarchs to shut out their opponent's extra deck plays, in addition to making it more difficult to simply use raw attack power to run over various threats. These hits may force monarch players to seek out other defensive strategies to supplement the prime monarch. Obviously, there are no trade-offs in either of these deals because monarchs in all respects within the TCG are still at full power. Now, one might ask, why no hits to Pantheism? That's the most popular card. Everybody wants to hit Pantheism. The general structure of the Monarch deck is one that can be fraught with inconsistency. And recall that the point of these deals is to limit the overall power of a given deck, but not outright kill the deck. Banning or even limiting Pantheism hurts the overall consistency of Monarchs too much for my tastes. Subject 3. Kozmo. In my opinion, Kozmo has been underperforming, and I made my case to why in a previous discussion, see the link in the description. However, a number of people believe that, despite Kozmo's not living up to their potential, it does need to be hit in some way on the ban list. This position makes sense, especially if the other Tier 1 decks receive some form of hit. So, what are the deals available for Kozmos? Deal 1. Kozmo Town to 1. Emergency Teleport to 1. Tin Can to 1. Obviously, this deal revolves around reducing the overall floating and some level of consistency for the deck. With only one Kozmo Town, Kozmo decks would have to adjust by running cards like Escape from the Dark Dimension or Light of Redemption to maintain their banish floating playstyle. Limiting Tin Can to 1 significantly reduces deck thinning and consistency capacity of the graveyard build, creating a lot more dead draws with a lot of revival in hand, but not much to actually revive from the graveyard. Obviously, reducing Emergency Teleport to 1 will limit consistency in a broad way. Deal 2. Dark Destroyer to 1, Dark Eclipser to 1, Emergency Teleport to 1. With Deal 1 not including Dark Destroyer, it's not really a surprise that Deal 2 would have to include it. Where Deal 1 focused on floating and consistency, Deal 2 focuses on reducing the overall raw power of Kozmos. Limiting Dark Destroyer to 1 reduces the OTK and field control capacity for Kozmos, forcing Kozmo players to be smart with when they elect to put Dark Destroyer on the field and how they play with it. The loss of Eclipser would also force Kozmo players to rely more on Forerunner at 2800 attack, which would be at a disadvantage against other large-scale attackers including Blue Eyes, Monarchs, or roll the dice while running something like Dark Planet. Not surprisingly, Emergency Teleport is also limited to 1 in this deal because 1 is probably where that card should be, largely because it's a quick play. Subject 4. Pendulums. Deal 1. Magispector Unicorn Kirin, banned. Performapal Monkey Board, banned. Very few individuals would argue that Kirin is not a list-worthy card. The question is whether to ban it outright or limit it to 1. The biggest problem with limiting it to 1 is, as a Magispector, cannot be destroyed or targeted by opponents' card effects. And as a pendulum that can target itself, it acts as almost a continuous compulsory evacuation device. Tie those strengths into the fact that Twin Twister will probably not be hit, but Solemn Strike could be hit, and the available options to eliminate Kirin from being summoned in the first place will drop. Therefore, I believe that banning Kirin is the proper course of action. A number of individuals believe that Monkey Board needs to be banned because it's a one-card scale. However, with the hit to Monkey Board, Pendulums will need something back. Ignister Prominence, the Blaster Draco Slayer, bringing that back to 2 copies could be an interesting benefit, as well as a second copy of Skullcrobat Joker. That could be argued as a more balanced response to the banning of Monkey Board, because it requires your normal summon, but can still produce valuable searching. Deal 2. Magispector Unicorn Kirin, banned. Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, banned. In my opinion, Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer is the card that really drives the Performapal bus when it comes to speed and overall consistency. Taking Sorcerer away removes the biggest advantage engine, and in some respects the biggest problem card not named Kirin for this archetype that is able to produce numerous pluses. Also, Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, along with a few of its cohorts, is an incredibly powerful engine that a lot of people throw into a bunch of other decks that can create annoyance and frustration for the opponent. However, the loss of Pendulum Sorcerer must be compensated by returning Skullcrobat Joker to 3, as well as unbanning Plushfire and Damage Juggler. Without Wavering Eyes and now Sorcerer being banned, Plushfire is not nearly as powerful as it once was, and in my opinion, Damage Juggler probably should never have been banned in the first place, simply limited to 1, which this deal accomplishes. Not surprisingly, Kieran is also banned in this deal. Subject 5. Mermail. Mermail is one of those decks that really does not seem to go away, peeking its head into the top 16 now and again. However, would one of the following deals allow Mermails to compete better against the existing meta or the future meta? Deal 1. Atlantean Dragoons to 3. Deep Sea Diva banned. Deal 1 attempts to swap a powerful but inconsistent at 1 and requiring a normal summons card for a third copy of a high-quality searcher that has no once-per-turn condition on any of its effects. While Diva is powerful, it is slow, and at 1 copy it is incredibly inconsistent, especially for first-turn plays, which Atlantean Mermail decks really try to excel in. Would a third copy of Dragoons work better for Mermail players looking for that big first-turn combo? Deal 2. Deep Sea Diva to 2. Mullen Glacia the Elemental Lord banned. While Diva is a powerful card, the simple reality is that first-turn Diva is one of the cheapest plays in the game, commonly creating at least a +3 for the player and a -2 for the opponent, thanks to Mullen Glacia's easy-to-achieve summoning condition and ridiculously powerful effect, especially when compared against the other Elemental Lord's effects. In my opinion, before Diva can be moved from 1 to multiples, Mullen Glacia needs to be removed as a combo possibility. However, because Diva can and almost always does grab Prince from the deck, Prince would need to go from 3 copies to 2 copies to ensure a proper balance. With the conclusion of the Let's Make a Deal portion of the discussion, let's move right into the Take It or Leave It portion. Offer 1 I like to call Bridge versus Destination. The proposition: Instant Fusion banned. Elder Entity Norden to 3. Instead of directly banning Norden, how about banning what might be the real problem instead, Instant Fusion? Norden is not the only problem caused by Instant Fusion, and eliminating Instant Fusion will eliminate the problem of Norden. Overall, at worst, Instant Fusion is a level 4 or 5 monster for a meager cost, which commonly produces an easy rank 4 or 5 XC in association with the normal summons. With the looming power of Utopia the Lightning, able to inflict 2,000 plus damage to almost any monster, Instant Fusion remains a meaningful threat, even with Norden banned. Quick and cheap XZ plays was not the original purpose of this card, and the continued existence of Instant Fusion enhances the importance of luck in a duel, which is in direct contrast to the purpose of a ban list. If someone wants to summon Norden the way it's supposed to be summoned, then they deserve its special summon effect. Offer 2. Artifacts. The proposition: Artifact Moraltech to 3. Artifact Sanctum to 1. While there are those who clamor for multiple copies of Moraltech, do these individuals really appreciate its power of non-targeting destruction that occurs during their opponent's turn, able to smash their plays to pieces? Isn't that one of the reasons people hate Dark Destroyer so much? Similar to Instant Fusion, the real problem is the fact that Sanctum makes Moraltech much more splashable in non-artifact decks. So to those who would want Moraltech back, fine, let's bring it back to 3. But such a move should be accompanied by limiting Sanctum to 1, heavily reducing its splashability in non-artifact decks. While Sanctum to 1 would hurt artifact decks, it stands to reason that Moraltech at 3 and Sanctum at 1 is better for pure artifact decks than the status quo. Offer 3. I call this one Everybody Gets to Play. The proposition: Vanity's Emptiness banned. Imperial Iron Wall banned. Anti-Spell Fragrance banned. Gozen Match banned. Rivalry of Warlords banned. Mask of Restrict, banned. Solemn Strike, to 1. Thunder King Ryo, to 3. Book of Moon, to 3. Compulsory Evacuation Device, to 3. Bottomless Trap Hole, to 3. Look, anyone who's followed my channel in any real length knows that I do not like cards that basically shut down an entire game mechanic in a continuous fashion. This offer basically cuts the legs off of the general floodgates that say you don't get to play strategies, because first and foremost, this game is supposed to be fun, and it's certainly not fun when your entire play strategy is destroyed by an opponent flipping over one specific card, and you don't have one of the 4 or 5 outs in your deck. Also, Solemn Strike, like Warning, should be limited to 1, for there are a variety of other cards that accomplish similar tasks, just not as effectively. To compensate for the loss of these continuous shutdown cards, various other single-use shutdown cards would be made widely available again. Offer 4. I call this one the Changing of the Guard. The proposition: Elemental Hero Stratos to 1. Elemental Hero Bubble Man to 1. Super Polymerization to 1. Elemental Hero Shadow Mist to 2. Elemental Hero Dark Law to 1. This offer is certainly an interesting one. 2 incredibly powerful banned cards for the Elemental Hero archetype return to 1 copy each in the Searcher and Back Row Wrecker Stratos, and the Use My Monsters? No, I think I'll use your monsters for my fusion summons Super Polymerization. With the release of these 2 powerful cards from the ban list, proper compensation is required. Bubble Man goes to 1 to limit the ability for cheap Stratos-enabled OTKs. 1 copy of Shadow Mist is replaced, so to speak, by the 1 copy of Stratos returning, and Dark Law is limited to reduce its abuse in a new Stratos world. Offer 5. I call this one No Fly Zone. Infernity Archfiend to 3. Infernity Launcher banned. Clearly, it will never be okay to bring back Infernity to full power. But what happens if Launcher is banned, and in exchange, Archfiend jumps to 3? More Archfiend means higher combo play probability, but the loss of Launcher eliminates the most reliable combo extender in the Infernity archetype. With all that said, what deals would you, the viewer, take? Which one of the offers would you accept? For those wondering which deals I would take, I would prefer deal 2 for Burning Abyss. Splashing Dante does not annoy me as much as it probably annoys some others. Not surprisingly, deal 1 for Monarch, since I made an entirely separate post about that topic. Deal 2 for Kozmo. Deal 2 for Pendulums. And deal 1 for Mermail Atlantean. For the offers in the nature of that game, I would take all the offers. Well, that concludes both Let's Make a Deal and Take It or Leave It Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban List Edition. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.